Welcome to Fluent and Chill. I'm Anthony K of Sports Fluent, and I'm here as always with the OG, J-Dub of Chilltown Hoops. Jay, how you doing, man?
Yo, what's going on? Talking some football today. Let's do it.
I say this every week, and I probably will say it every week. As much as I love our NBA editions, football season's coming.
It's coming, man. Let's do it.
And I feel good. So we're going to do the same thing we did. So if you haven't watched it yet, go check out the NBA edition, Fluent and Chill. I think it's episode 3. We go through the teams that we think, the 10 teams that have a legitimate shot at the NBA title. So now we're going to do NFL edition, the 10 teams that we believe have a legit shot at a Super Bowl. So this time we're going to start in the AFC. I'm going to run through the teams that didn't make the playoffs. If there's any of those that you think have done enough from last season to this season to be in the conversation, let me know, and we'll bump them up the list.
I'm having a hard time thinking somebody that didn't make the playoffs is going to the bowl game. But all right, let's do it.
We'll do it. And much like my neighbor Drake, we're going to start from the bottom.
Let's get to it.
So we got the Jags. I think we're good. The Jets. And let me say, I think the Jets are going to surprise some people. That they're going to be better. They're not a playoff team, but I think Zach Wilson's actually going to be better than people thought.
So Tone, you figure, all right, last year they were 1-15, right?
They can't be worse.
Well, they can. They can go 0-16, but
fair enough.
They can be worse. But okay, so they go, I don't know, let's say they go 4-13 this year. I mean, that is better if you're looking at it that way. Now, you can also say, we just suck less than what we did last year.
No, I think what you're going to see this year, and I think 4 or 5 games is what they're going to get, but I think you're going to see the most dangerous word in sports. You're going to see some potential, right? You're going to see it. The worst thing you want to give Jets fans is a glimmer of hope, and they're going to get it this year. So be careful what you wish for.
They ain't as bad as Cowboy fans, though, but
we'll get to that. We will get to that. All right, the next team is Houston, who I told you I think they're going to be that surprise team that's in the wild card conversation. But I don't think Super Bowl. I don't think I'm going to get an argument.
No.
Cincinnati improved. No Super Bowl.
That defense is pedestrian at best.
I'm gonna pause there for a second because I've been very vocal about this for a couple of years, and I still get grief about it to this day. I want to go back. I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe a year and a bit ago, right before the draft. I was doing an episode of Sports Fluent, and I had Cynthia Freeland on from the NFL Network. And she used her analytics, and I just used my eye test, and we were talking about the draft. And I said, and of course I'm drawing a blank now on the guy who defense. Oh, man. He was taken by Washington. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. He went number 2. The year Burrow went 1. Chase Young, I believe. Chase Young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chase Young.
Mm-hmm.
So I said before the draft, I don't think that the Bengals should take Joe Burrow, and I understand that he's a phenomenal talent and it could be a cornerstone quarterback. But I saw the quarterbacks coming after him, and I said they're still going to be terrible. They're still going to get a good quarterback the next year or the year after because they're not in a position to win now. And I said, they have so many holes in their offensive line, so many holes on defense. You take the best player, and the best player was Chase Young. Mm-hmm. And I think Chase Young gives them a dynamic on defense that we know this. You can be competitive if you can run the ball and play defense. And I thought, let's build that way and then get your quarterback next year was my suggestion. Her analytics said the same thing, that they should Chase Young. And I always look back to that and I go, as good as Joe Burrow looked before his injury, would they have been better if they picked Chase Young, shored up their defense, worked on getting an offensive line, and then this year, right, drafted their quarterback?
You got to remember, You got to remember, though, Tone. We live in a day and age where quarterback is king, and the quarterback can basically turn your franchise around. And
not if he's on the ground on his back.
Not if he's not upright. If he's not upright, he's no good to you whatsoever.
And it's similar to this year. Again, they picked the wide receiver, and I said they should have gone with the offensive lineman. They need the offense. Now I get it. They went to the same school, all this other stuff, why they want to do it. But again, I keep saying you can't throw from your back. So
no, you cannot.
That's a lot of the Bengals. So Denver, we were talking about Locke, and we weren't sure about him, and lo and behold, Bridgewater won the starting position. So I like Denver. I really like Denver. I don't think they're making the Super Bowl. The Chargers. Go ahead. Go. I know you got a secret crush on the Broncos. So
I do, and it's been going on for quite a while now. We can't leave out the fact that Teddy Bridgewater finished 5th last year in completion percentage. So that defense that Denver has is really, really good. And with Samuel, with Emmanuel, with Samuels, and that running game that Denver has, they need Drew Lock to become that guy, only except he's not that guy.
Right.
I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is that guy neither, but I tell you what, he's going to give them a dynamic that they didn't have, not only just from throwing the football, but from also an athletic standpoint. And he's going to give them a heady quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if Denver actually made the playoffs and made some noise in the playoffs.
I think they'll make some noise, and it's one of those things where I think Locke gives you those really dynamic plays. Unfortunately, some are good, some are bad. Right, Bridgewater's going to be more even.
Yes,
but I think that's better for what again, what they're doing, which is run the ball, play defense. And let me give Bridgewater a shout out, because after his injury, it would have been easy to just put your head down and stop. But
I thought he was finished, Tom. I did. I thought he was finished.
He worked, and he did everything that was asked of him when he went to the Saints, when he went to Carolina. And honestly, I'm really happy for him that he's going to get a chance now again to start in Denver, because those are the types of guys that, not superstars. You don't talk enough about them, but I mean, just loves the game, puts his head down, does his work. You never hear a bad thing about Teddy. You know what I mean? Those are good guys.
He's the reason why I'm happy for him. He's the reason the Saints made the playoffs when Drew Brees went down for those 6 weeks.
That's
if
right.
Drew Brees, if Teddy Bridgewater's not there, they're not making the playoffs. He saved them.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it's good to see. I'm happy for that story. Next, we got the Chargers. Again, I think going to be fun to watch, but not Super Bowl.
They're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
What about the Patriots?
Well, we still got to get our quarterback situation figured out, and I don't think that Belichick's going to buckle under the pressure of the public and starting Mac Jones, because as good as he might look, quote unquote, he's not ready yet. And this is Cam Newton's second season in that offense. And I think that he'll be better. I think that they'll be better. It's obvious, just like with Chicago, Mac Jones is the future in New England. He's just not ready just yet. I mean, Belichick had a similar situation in 2001. He wanted to start Brady in year 2 before before Bledsoe got hurt. He wanted to start Brady, but the problem was Bledsoe got extended. Right. It wasn't that he wasn't ready. When he got hurt, Belichick knew that, all right, this is my guy anyway. I don't think he thinks Mac Jones is his guy right now.
I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready to say that yet. I'm with you on that one. On that note, I don't know if disappointed is the word, but how do you feel about Cam Newton Cam Newton started last season, people forget, really well in a new offense with a new team. Then he gets COVID, and he's never the same after. And now he breaks COVID protocol, and now he's puts him at risk again. Again, I use the word disappointed, but I just kind of shrug my
here we go again, Tom. The last season, they go to Seattle. He throws for almost 400 yards, and he beats Seattle. I mean, they almost beat Seattle. Excuse me, they almost beat Seattle. And New England looks like they could be a playoff team. He gets COVID, and he's out. He's never the same after that. And they go downhill. Same idea is happening right here. You would think that I would learn from that. Now, I mean, it's your personal choice to get vaccinated or not. All right, that's fine. I have no issue with that. However, you need to understand that there are consequences that come with you not being vaccinated. There are consequences that come with you breaking protocol. And your job is on the line, because it's not like it's a situation where you're locked in as the quarterback. for the New England Patriots. No, you're in a quarterback battle, as a matter of fact. You're in a quarterback competition. So you can't afford to miss any days. Forget weeks, Tone. You can't afford to miss any days. So for him to do this and to find himself in this situation again, which is self-inflicted, it's very disappointing, man.
It is, right? Because it's one of those things that I get it. Let me compare him back to Teddy Bridgewater. I get it that Cam obviously showed, years ago how capable he is as a quarterback, but you're not that same guy anymore. You're trying to prove yourself. This might be your last shot to be a starter in the NFL. And where I'm praising Teddy Bridgewater, saying, look, he's doing everything he needs to do. Here's Cam kind of not doing everything he needs to do. And I get it. Listen, I'm not here to get into a political argument about vaccines and protocols and, your body, all that stuff. I get it. But as part of the NFL, like it or not, if you want to play in the NFL, just like any job, these are the things that it's just like, I compare it to curfew. You play for the NFL, you have curfew, you break the curfew, you get punished. Hey, they have protocols for this COVID, so you got to follow them or you're going to get punished. Like it or not, that's how it is.
Let me ask you this, Tom.
Yeah.
Cam Newton loses this quarterback competition. Where do you see him? Is he
over?
You think he's done if he loses this quarterback competition?
Done. Because not by, I don't want to say no fault of his own, but the way he played when he came back from COVID, that's what every GM, that's what everyone's seeing. And I don't think that's who he is. I think he really is the guy that we saw the first part of the season with a new team, with a new playbook. And I still think he's got it. And I've said this to everyone because I was fortunate enough because I believe he went down and he was on an episode of I'm Athlete. And Coach Hugh Jackson, who I do the Sports Fluent, the coach in AK, was down there at the same time with B. Marsh and Fred Taylor and those guys, right? And he said he saw him. He was in good shape. He's throwing. I trust a guy who was an offensive coach of the year when he tells me, when you see this guy practice, he still has it. So I trust that. I think this was his year to prove it. And this jeopardizes that. So I hope it doesn't because, again, I hate guys that are talented guys who let off-field stuff, take away from how great they could be on the field. And I will say this. I like Mac Jones. I just don't like him this year.
Right.
I think Cam and the Patriots, Cam understanding that offense with those, the tight ends, the things that they did, I think they could have been a threat, again, with what I'm expecting from the defense. So I think he made them take 2 steps back now, and you never want that. So like I said, I'm disappointed. But again, hey, life, you got to make your choices for you. So next is the Raiders. Probably not Super Bowl, right? Okay.
Well, we still have to figure out, is David Carr, is this, I can't enough.
Derek.
I can't say enough with Derek. Derek. I can't say enough about how important your quarterback is. And I think Carr is who he is. Are we in year 5 now with him? Year 4, I think this is.
I think you're fine.
And I think this is it, Tone. I mean, is he going to turn into a 4,500-yard, 35 touchdown quarterback that's marching his team up the field? I don't think so. And they got a great tight end. I think they got one of the better tight ends in Waller.
Waller. Oh, yeah.
I think they got one of the better tight ends. I think that defense, which, by the way, I heard about John Gruden calling back the Bears to say,
we got to take back on that.
I was wondering, and immediately he gets to click because that's like selling a Bentley wholesale, a very little used Bentley, and then finding out that you gave it away for pennies on the dollar, and then calling back and going, "Hey, I was wondering if I could have that back." Not only can you not have it back, get off my phone. Click.
Yeah, click. Although I will say they could have made a crazy. You walk here, sure. Give me Waller. Give me just gone through a list of just decimate them. 5 first-round picks and but no, I think clicking was probably the best thing to do. All right, so the Raiders are and I think I say this for a lot of teams. I think they're a quarterback, and when I say a quarterback, I want to make it clear because I've gotten some messages. You always say this team's a quarterback away. I don't mean a different quarterback. I mean, it could be a different quarterback when I say they're a quarterback away, or it could be a quarterback going on a run, right? We've seen quarterbacks just have great seasons and exceed their expectations or right? I always use Nick Foles in that playoff run with Philadelphia. He's not that good, but he played that good for that stretch. So when I say a quarterback away, it could be a different quarterback or it could be just a great run.
Yeah.
We've seen those one season kind of miracles and people get paid and then they're never the same.
Right.
So Miami, speaking of quarterback question marks, I think they're good. I don't think they were on the cusp of the playoffs last year, but yeah,
I do think they make the playoffs this year, Tone. I think they make the playoffs this year, and I do think that they make some noise. The notion about Tua, I think that it's overblown. Tua was a rook last season. When you get to the pro game, the game is different than in college. Tua said he struggled with the playbook. Well, he struggled with the playbook because the things that we're doing at Alabama, even if we're running a pro set, is not the same cadence. It's not the same verbiage as it is in the actual program. There's different defenses that I have to see that I don't see when I'm in college where they're mixing it up. So he struggled with the playbook offensively. I think that with the year under his belt, I think that he'll be better this season. Now, what we have to make sure that we understand, Tone, is we can't rush these guys. Everything is now. This guy is a developing quarterback. The best example I can give you, Tone, is my 49ers, man. My 49ers, we end up with Kaepernick. Even though Alex Smith, we was rolling with him, we only had Cap for what? We got 3 good years out of him. That was it. So I'm not prepared. I'm wondering if the quarterback who is going to throw for us for 10, 12 years, is he still alive? Like, is Matt Ryan still around? Is Matthew Stafford, these guys, are we going to still see these guys, or is it just going to be a revolving door?
Well, it depends, because I know this is a cliche, but it's a copycat league. And in a copycat league, you're going to do things that you see that work. And let's be honest, you've seen guys, I know he had 1 year under his belt, but Mahomes with 1 year under his belt come out and play well. Last year, you saw Herbert, right? Because of a freak injury, don't get me wrong, he wasn't supposed to start, but because of a freak injury, he was thrown in there, looked amazing. So as long as quarterbacks come in as rookies or second-year guys and play that well, if you're not convinced that 5-10 year, starter is going to take you to the promised land, you're going to see teams kind of take a chance on those rookies. The problem is not everybody can come into a situation like, listen, we say a lot about Herbert coming in and playing that well. Do you see the weapons he has around him? Do you see the defense that the Chargers had? Like, it wasn't just he came into a team and, like, again, I'm not picking on the Bengals, but you throw him on the Bengals last year.
Or Jacksonville.
Or Jackson. Yeah, you're seeing the same thing you saw out of Burrow and saying, yeah, he's good, but he just happened to go and flip that. You put a Burrow or one of those other guys who were, had question marks, you put them on the Chargers, we might be saying, oh, what a great rookie he was. Because, very, very rarely do you get to go to a team that has 2 good receivers, a tight end, a run. Now, I get it was a 3-headed monster, but a running game and a defense, like a game-changing defense. That team was built to win. Like, again, not maybe a Super Bowl, but they were built to win games. And, they didn't necessarily win a lot of games, but he benefited from the players around him. So the next one is, and I would have argued maybe to circle these guys as one of the 5 before the Wentz injury, but the Colts. That's my pick for Miami. If Miami makes the playoffs, I think that's the team that they knock out from last year's.
If I'm not sold on the Colts because their quarterback situation, and I love Frank Wright and I love what he's doing. I love that defense. Leonard is amazing, but that quarterback, I got to go back to the quarterback situation, Tone, and your offense starts with your quarterback. And the Colts, that quarterback situation is too unstable. I don't know exactly who Carson Wentz is yet in that offense. I've seen him in Philadelphia.
Well, and when he comes back, right? Because he's going to miss at least probably the first quarter. Yeah,
that's exactly what I mean. Health has been an issue for him, and is health going to continue to be an issue for him? That offensive line that they have in Indianapolis, actually, it's pretty good. They actually got a pretty good offensive line. The question is, can Carson Wentz hold up? So we're going to find out with those guys.
I get a lot of grief on this one because I kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth. And I'll do it again, and then maybe you can help sway me in one direction or the other. The Cleveland Browns have one of the most talented at the skill position when you think of Landry and Beckham and their tight end, they're two running backs. They have two starting running backs.
Chubb is a starter, no question about it. He is.
And a much improved defense with a game changer in Myles Garrett there as well, right? You got a solid defense that has a game changer defender. You've got everything at the skill position, and I circled them as, hey, this has a potential Super Bowl team. I don't trust Baker Mayfield, and there's nothing to say. Like, when people say here's his stats and this, and they try to I got a lot of people in Cleveland that I talk to. And I'm just like, I'm not sold on Baker Mayfield. Is it me? Am I just thinking he's the next Johnny Manziel and that's why? Or is it, I just don't like his attitude? What is it about Baker Mayfield?
The problem is that he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and you expect him to perform like a number 1 overall pick in the draft. And he hasn't done that. Baker is, here are the keys to the Ferrari, which they have in Cleveland right now. Just don't crash it. And he's crashed it a couple times. That's your problem, Tone. You've seen him crash the car, and you're not ready to hand the keys over to him and give him a brand new Ferrari and trust that he's not going to crash that one. Because with him and Beckham,
what is that? Yeah, what is that?
Something's wrong there, Tone. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something wrong because him and Landry work. Him and Chubb work. Something's going on with him and ODB. It just doesn't. Something's wrong there. Whether they're not on the same page, because I know that Beckham's working hard. I know that Baker's working hard. Something in terms of something's wrong there, and I don't know what exactly it is. That defense is phenomenal, Myles Garrett, and he's the anchor of that defense. All we need from Baker is to drive the car. We don't need you to make incredible turns. We don't need you to floor it on the freeway. Just drive the car. That's the issue. Because I think that they could be an AF. I think that they can challenge Kansas City and Buffalo. I do think that they can do that.
Hey, listen, when you compare, so we're going to get to Kansas City and Buffalo in a second, but clearly I think everyone agrees those are probably the top 2 teams in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So when I compare the teams and I look at Cleveland versus KC or Buffalo, Cleveland has a better defense than Kansas City. They have a just as good, if not better, defense than Buffalo. They've got maybe not as, hey, listen, I'm not going to compare their weapons to, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and, Hardman and those guys. But I think if you add in the running game that the Browns have, like collectively at the skill positions minus the quarterback, I think the Browns are as good, as talented.
That's what I was going to ask you, Tone. That was my next question to you. Let's take Baker out for a second. And
if I take Baker out,
is it a wash?
I think where Kansas City has an edge in the tight end and wide receiver collective,
right?
The Browns have a bigger edge in the running back. So I think it washes out if collectively.
All right.
So when I say again quarterbacks out, skill positions, they're as good, but again because of the defense. Right. And what's the one thing? Well, who do I trust? Patrick Mahomes or Baker Mayfield?
That's not correct.
And I'm taking Mahomes 10 times out of 10.
Right.
So now, do they need a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes to beat them? No. But I think they need someone better than Baker. And again, everyone's going to, how the world works. Oh, I'm a hater. You hate Baker.
Of course.
It's not that I don't hate. I don't hate him. I don't trust him because I haven't seen it. Right. I need to see it. So I'm going to put.
You've seen the other things, though, Tone.
I've seen.
There's a reason why you don't trust him because you've seen the other things. That's why. It's not you don't trust him because he's small or he doesn't throw the deep ball. You've seen the other things which have caused you not to trust him.
Hey, listen, Drew Brees was small too. He did just fine. So I'm still circling them as a team that has a shot at the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Okay. So since we talked about them already, let's jump to the 2 obvious ones: Kansas City, Buffalo. Obviously, they've got a legit shot at a Super Bowl run. Yes. Yes,
they do.
Okay.
I think they're the class. I think both of those teams are the class of the AFC. I think that Josh Allen is on the cusp of being. I think he's on the cusp of being in that elite quarterback conversation. I think he's on the cusp of that. Stephon Diggs is arguably the best wideout in the game. So that defense is stout in Buffalo.
I'm worried about the running game.
I was just getting ready to get to that. Who is gonna be their work, because they don't have a workhorse back. Who will be giving the ball to 20 times, 25 times to get us.
And I think you're gonna see like Singletary getting it 10, 15 times, and Moss getting it 10 times. I think you're gonna see a split. Yeah. Is that the best thing? That's why it's a question mark, right? So, but I think you're right. Kansas City, Buffalo. I don't think we need to talk about them. Kansas City. Only, I think, 3 teams in the history of the NFL have lost in the Super Bowl and come back the following year and won the Super Bowl. So history is against them to actually win it this year. Does that mean they can't get back to it? No. They're talented enough. They might break the mold. But, I mean, we're talking – you got to go back to, I think it's like the Cowboys of the 70s or 80s. Like, you got to go back to think of a team that lost in the Super Bowl and then came back and won it the next year. Right. Speaking of Super Bowls, we know Buffalo's made it 4 times and lost 4 in a row, which making it 4 years in a row is impressive.
Tell me, you're trying to get to the Super Bowl, you got to come through West New York. I don't care what you did in the Super Bowl. If you're trying to get there, you got to come through West New York. It's that simple. Downplay it all you want.
The fact that they couldn't win. I always tell everybody when they're like, "Is making it enough?" I'm like, "Ask Buffalo if making it is enough," and they will tell you, "I would trade in all 4 appearances for 1 win."
Just to win 1.
And I don't think I get an argument from that. Okay, so now we're left with 3 teams, and we got, if we're doing our 5 with the legit shot, we have 2 spots. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you this one because I already know. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, Tone. I think they're over.
You think they're done?
Think Pittsburgh. I think I got tricked last year. A buddy of mine was talking to me, telling me that the Pittsburgh Steelers were fool's gold. I'm thinking, no, they're not. That defense is great with Mince Fitzpatrick, and that offense is looking really good. No. Who they reminded me of, once I started to watch them and once I started doing my homework, they were the 08-09 Cleveland Cavaliers, who won 66 games. But then you saw them against the better teams in the league, and they were getting steamrolled. They were getting smoked. And that's what happened with Pittsburgh. It was fool's gold. Now Ben Roethlisberger is trying to sell me at age 39 that, okay, I'm going to be better this year, and I think they're over. I think Pittsburgh is finished.
Regardless of the sport, you got to be really careful on regular season records, because the more games that you play,
I've gotten tricked.
It can be tricky. It can be tricky.
I've gotten tricked.
And so I don't disagree with you. And I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna get a little. Again, I'm a little edgy here with what I'm about to say. I think Mike Tomlin does his team a disservice by promoting, I forget his first name, but Canada to the offensive coordinator job. And look, this isn't, let me be clear for the people that know me. This is not a shot because they interviewed my friend Hugh Jackson and didn't give him the job. Although he was an offensive coach of the year, he does know the AFC North as good, if not better than anybody else. He obviously was with Cincinnati for a long time, with Cleveland. Although he didn't have success as a head coach with Cleveland, he still knows that team. And so I would have thought a veteran offensive coordinator like that, maybe not Hugh, but maybe someone else, but I think Hugh, would have made more sense than a person who's never done it before, a person who's never called plays before. Now, is that because, we're just going to put our faith in Ben Roethlisberger at 39 to call his own plays?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Is it because someone said this to me, and I'm not accusing him of anything, but someone said Mike Tomlin doesn't like to hire coordinators that could threaten his job. And I said, I didn't buy it, because I said, well, no, hold on, because the Rooneys have had 3 head coaches in the history of the team. They don't flip. They do not flip head coaches unless I believe. And the person who told me is a longtime Steelers fan. He goes, the only time a coach gets fired in Pittsburgh or by the Steelers, by the Rooneys, is if they have 3 consecutive losing seasons. Go back and look, he told me. He's like, if you don't have 3 losing seasons, your job is safe, which I think is fantastic, because I think teams give up on coaches way too quickly than they should. And sometimes they hang on to players too long. And it's this weird kind of opposite thinking. But I'm with you. I think they're going to be good. They're going to be in the playoffs again. Mike Tomlin has proven that he can coach. Even last year when we thought he had every excuse to just, mail it in, and they didn't. They fought hard. They played well. But I agree with you. They're out. Tennessee. I will never completely disregard a team that has a running game like that, a defense, and look. You said you got tricked by Pittsburgh. I got tricked by Ryan Tannehill.
I did too.
Because I saw what he did in Miami, and I hate to use this term. I was like, he's trash in comparison to other NFL quarterbacks, because I'm sure he's a million times better than me. But in comparison, I was like, he's trash. Mm-hmm. Man, he's looked like a different quarterback in Tennessee. So I was wrong about Ryan Tannehill. So you got a good quarterback, you got good receivers, you got a phenomenal running game, and you got a good defense. That's the makeup of a team that has a shot, right?
And they just, it was last season. They just year before that, it was just in the AFC Championship game. So it's obvious that they are not that far away in terms of their defense, in terms of their offense. Derrick Henry looks like I'm not gonna say Walter Payton. No, I'm not gonna go that far. He ain't sweetness good, but he looks like a younger version and a more bruising version of Jim Brown. Sometimes when I watch him, I'm like, man,
he's like Jim Brown light, or like too tall Jones, because he runs so upright.
This guy is awesome, and I've watched Ryan Tannehill for all of those years, and I was convinced that Tennessee is going to be at the bottom of the AFC South with this guy, only to find out that Ryan Tannehill is actually a good quarterback. He wasn't the problem. Clearly, the problem was the offensive coordinator in Miami. It wasn't him. So I'm not ready to say that Tennessee is not a contender. I'm not. I'm definitely putting Tennessee in the middle of that conversation of being a Super Bowl contender. Absolutely.
What are you seeing? What are you expecting from Julio Jones this season in Tennessee? Is it he's old and he's probably not going to get it done, or chip on his shoulder? He wants another shot at a Super Bowl. We're going to see him surprise some people.
I think that Julio is going to be the guy that he was in Atlanta. I think that that's going to open up so much more of their offense with Julio being on the edge and Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball. He didn't slow down when he was in Atlanta. Let's be clear about that. It was time for him to go.
Yeah.
They had exhausted everything that they had in Atlanta, and it was just time to move on. That doesn't mean that he's washed. And I think he's going to be great for that offense and what they do, putting him on the edge, maybe even sometimes running him in the slot, because Julio was great at blocking. Julio's a great route runner, and he's still athletic, and he still has it. So I would not be surprised to see Julio at 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards this season. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I'm not comparing them to your favorite team, the Cowboys. I'm not. But when your triplets are Tannehill, Julio, and Derek, you feel pretty good. You feel pretty good.
You got a shot. You absolutely have a shot. Yes, you do.
So the last team, whether they are is this going to be the fifth? Baltimore, the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, looked like he, I don't want to say took a step back, but maybe defense started to figure them out a little bit last year. Do you think he and the offense tweak it enough to keep surprising people and he has another great season? Or does he take another step back? Or what we saw last year is more realistic for his kind of career?
Well, first of all, I don't think he took a step back. In fact, they won a playoff game. So I think he took a step forward. That's number one. Number two, that offense is designed around him running the football. That's part of their offense. I would like to see him get more accurate, which is necessary because when the playoffs come, this is what teams scheme for. And I'd like to see Lamar be because he's improved in being a student of the game. So I'd like to see him continue to improve in that. That offensive line, again, they've shored up that offensive line. Mark Ingram, I can't say that running game is elite, but what I can say is Lamar Jackson is elite. And I think that he's going to take a step forward this season. I'm not ready to call Baltimore a Super Bowl contending team, but I do think that they'll be right in the middle of the playoffs. And if they get some things to go their way, don't be surprised if they're in the AFC Championship game. Don't be surprised.
I'm going to give you three options because this was, and in all honesty, this was sent to me. I know how I answered, but I'm going to let you answer this. Is Lamar Jackson more RG3, Cam Newton, something totally different?
I think he's something totally different because when I look at RG3 wasn't durable. That's number one. Cam's just much bigger, and the offense was dumbed down for RG3. The offense isn't dumbed down for Lamar Jackson. So it's obvious that he's a student of the game. In fact, it's more advanced and they play faster. So I don't think I think he's neither of those two guys. And I think he's more, he's got some Steve Young in him. He reminds me of Steve, and he's got some Michael Vick in him as well. You know, his ability to stand in the pocket and throw. I'd love to, once he gets more accurate, he's going to be incredible. He's going to be even more dynamic than what he is. But I don't think he's neither of those guys.
I answered the same way, something totally different. I think what the comparison they were trying to say, is he going to get hurt like RG3 or like Cam Newton, where those were running quarterbacks that, hey, look, they just took a lot of hits, and it showed in their injuries and their shortness of their peak at their careers. But I'm with you. I think he's something totally different. So we've got 4 teams. We ended up with KC, Buffalo, Tennessee, Cleveland. Who's your pick? Way too early pick to be in the Super Bowl.
Kansas City's still they're still a class of the AFC. So until somebody beats them, Kansas City's going to the bowl game. I love Buffalo. I'm digging what Cleveland's doing. I'm digging what Tennessee's doing. Kansas City is the class of the AFC. And until somebody beats them, they're the class of the AFC.
I'm taking a trip from Toronto. I'm crossing the border. I'm driving through Fort Erie, Tonawanda, Lackawanna, and I'm hitting Orchard Park, and I'm rolling with my Bills. And I'm taking the Bills. So I'm going to send this out to everybody nearby. So maybe I get some love. All right, we're going to go to the NFC. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit, but I'm going to give you kind of 3 at a time. So here are 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit. Do any of those take a significant Super Bowl step forward? Okay.
I'm over Matt Ryan. I've been over Matt Ryan for the last 2 years. I've been over him, and losing Julio is huge. I'm over Matt Ryan.
I will tell you, I'm really surprised that there was rumors that he might be on the trade block. I'm really surprised with a young receiver in Calvin Ridley, they didn't trade him, stockpile some draft picks, et cetera, and start that youth movement. I am surprised. The Panthers, your Cowboys, and the G-Men.
I think the Giants are going to take a significant step forward. The Cowboys, I mean, Dak hasn't thrown all preseason. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. And
I know they're saying don't worry. I'm worried.
I am too. Absolutely.
Because without Dak, we saw last year, without Dak, Zeke's completely different. He's a completely different running back.
Completely different running back. So, and I think Carolina will be competitive in the NFC South, but I don't think that they're a threat.
Okay. Do you see Darnold kind of like a Ryan Tannehill type of deal where, oh man, I guess he wasn't as bad as we thought on the Jets?
Oh man, I'm digging Sam Darnold getting out of New York because I think that they screwed him up. I do. I think that they were on the verge of screwing him up. When he was coming out of college, I thought that he was a turnover machine, but I thought that he was really talented and in the right system, he could flourish. I don't think he got an opportunity to do that with the Jets. I'm hoping that he has an opportunity to do that in Carolina.
All right. So for everybody who doesn't know, I'm joking when I say your team, the Cowboys, because we know your team is the 49ers. So here's the next batch. It's the 49ers, Minnesota, Arizona. Do any of them have a legit Super Bowl shot?
I think my 49ers, we'll be back in the middle of it. Jimmy G, if he could stay upright, he wins 80% of his games. Kyler Murray, we've seen some improvement, now getting A.J. Green and now having DeAndre. I'm drawing a blank here. Now having that wide receiver core. Now having Hopkins and A.J. Green. I think that they're going to be competitive. My 49ers, in terms of our defense, we're going to be healthy this year. I think we win 11 games, and if we can get a good playoff draw, I think we can be in the middle of it.
I agree with you. I think the 49ers, they're totally underrated because of the injuries last season. Mm-hmm. I don't think another team was decimated by injury anywhere near the 49ers. I think if healthy, and I'm not just saying this for you, I think if healthy, they're going to surprise. If they shouldn't surprise anybody, we should know if they're healthy, they're in the conversation. All right, so those are the teams that didn't make it. Here are the teams that were in the playoffs. We've got the defending Super Bowl champs, the Bucks, the Rams, and my Bears. I'm going to just say it. The Bucks are not only my pick to make the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. I think they repeat, and they're clearly in contention.
Well, you know how I feel about the champs. And they basically ran it back. They brought everybody back. It wasn't a situation where they revamped the defense or they brought everybody back. So I don't see why Tampa would not be right back in the middle of this. Absolutely. And Chicago, I think Chicago will be – Chicago gets an incomplete for me because I need to see what Andy Dalton is in the first couple of weeks because we're not yanking him after week one. Y'all not. Mm-mm. You're not going to yank him after week one. Mm-hmm. So I need to see who he is, so he gets an incomplete. And the third one was
the Rams.
The Rams. Matthew Stafford, I think he's got the most fourth quarter comebacks over the last 5 years or something like that, which is great.
Which is crazy for a team that wasn't good.
Yeah, which is nuts to me. But that defense with the Rams, and they're in the same division with my 49ers, I think they're going to be right back in the middle of it. I do. I just do.
I don't trust. I've said this to you before. I don't trust Matthew Stafford. I've seen him 2 times a year, like I said, for 12 years, and I don't see him winning. However, that defense, they're gonna win some games, 13-10. So he's not gonna need to be
9-6.
Yeah. It's the worst kind of football, but hey, you do what you got to do. At the end of the day, no one's going to look back and say, "Oh, they won every game," 12-9 on 4 field goals. They're going to say, "Hey, they won, 12 games."
Right.
Washington.
I tell you what, Tone, the Washington football team. I can't really put my finger on Fitz, but he just hangs around, and as long as he hangs around, your team has a shot. It's just. He's always been that guy. Chase Young is clearly the anchor on that defense. He's their Aaron Donald. So he's the anchor on that defense. I think that Washington's going to take a step forward this season. I do. I think that they're going to take a step forward, and I think that they're going to be better. I think that they're better than Philadelphia. I'm having a hard time saying that they're better than the Giants because I think that Danny Dimes and those guys are going to take a step forward too. But I would give Washington. I don't know if Washington can win it, but I think that they're in the middle of it.
I know that you're high on the G-men, but I'm going to go out and say this. One, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but it's been at least, I believe, 20 years since a team has repeated as NFC East champs. I think this is the year.
The Cowboys.
Well, listen, again, I can't get. You know how you gave an incomplete? Dallas is incomplete because I don't know. Is Dak back? Is he healthy?
Yeah.
Is he the same guy that left? I don't know who Dak is. Right. And when quarterback being, let's be honest, the most important position, right. and that's why I don't even know who's going to play. I can't pick them now. Week 1, Dak could start and look amazing. We'll look back at this and go, okay, but until I see him play. Mm-hmm. Washington still is the best team, I think, in the because think about it, they got the same defense as last year, which is probably which is the best in the division, and they upgraded at quarterback.
Right.
And as much as Fitz is up and down, he's better than what they had, so they're better.
Correct.
So now we got the last 3. We got Green Bay with that drama all off season. New Orleans, who has now decided, which I would have thought should have been decided a long time ago, Jameis Winston's going to be their QB, and Seattle.
What's the hold up in New Orleans, Tone? What's the problem?
I just think they really like Taysom Hill. I think he does everything that they ask him to do. Look, he might be the most, let me not say the best, the most versatile player I maybe have ever seen. He could play quarterback, running back, tight end, defense, in coverage. He plays on special teams. He's a gunner. Like the only thing I haven't seen him do, which he probably could do, is probably punt and kick a field goal.
Taysom Hill is who Tebow should have been.
Right. Absolutely correct. And so I think they knew he's not a starting quarterback in this league, but they wanted it so bad because he sacrificed everything and did. Like, how often have you seen a guy line up at quarterback and then go out, on the next kickoff return and make the tackle? Like, it's just
then the next play, and then the next go line up in the slot.
Not yet. Right. And I've seen him at fullback and blocking and like he literally, like the guy's incredible. I don't want to take away from all the things he does. He's just not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Jameson is the better quarterback.
And so James, absolutely, he's the better quarterback, pure quarterback. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that was the holdup is we have this guy who I think he in his heart and soul just wants to be a starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I don't knock him for that. I just don't think he is, and they see it too. And so they had to figure out a way to, hey, let's give him a legitimate shot. Let's let him see, and let's figure out how we can use these two guys, right? Because it was easy when it was Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. I think to say, hey, you're behind Drew Brees, so we're going to get you in wherever we can because you're a talented athlete.
Yep.
But now, Jameis Winston doesn't carry that same cachet as Drew Brees does. And so he's probably saying, hey, I think I can start over this guy. So I think it was, hey, we want to keep him happy as much as anything else.
Yep.
And that's why it took so long. But I think people are going to see, listen, if Jameis Winston doesn't have a great year statistically, I'm going to be really surprised.
I think he will.
I'm going to be really surprised.
I think he will. Seattle, I think they take a step back. I'm not sold on what Seattle is doing. I think that they take a step back with that defense that they have. I'm having a hard time betting against Russ, but with what I've seen last year, that offensive line, he was constantly under attack.
Well, let me ask you. He comes out in the offseason, right, and kind of gave us Bear fans, hope.
I was like,
and so,
Chicago.
I was so excited, and because we were on his list, and he said, "Look, I don't have an offensive line. I'm sick of them, picking up basketball players and making them offensive linemen, and I'm running for my life."
Constantly.
What did they do to shore up their offensive line?
Nothing.
They
didn't do much.
So what are we going to see differently than last year?
I don't think much. I don't think. I think they're an 8-9 win team tops, and I think that's in the NFC West. I think that's good enough for third. 9 wins. I think that's good enough for third. So
you're in the toughest division in the NFL with a team like the Rams that you're going to have to face twice. Okay, Arizona's defense isn't great, but look, they're improved. Mm-hmm. The 49ers, again, if their defense is healthy, is a legitimate force. Mm-hmm. That's 6 of your 17 games against either exceptional or like really good defenses. Mm-hmm. And you don't have an offensive line. I'm worried.
Right.
And it's not like their defense. It's not like the old days. It's not like you just chalk them in and say, okay, they've got 8-9 home games. They're winning 8 or 9 games.
The Legion of Boom is gone.
It used to be a given. You go to Seattle, you lose,
right?
Except for except for the Cardinals. The Cardinals always seem to go up to Seattle and win.
What's going on with Arizona? Every time they would go up there and serve them, I don't understand. My 49ers, we hadn't won up in Seattle since I was in college. Meanwhile, Arizona's going up there and beating them by 2 touchdowns. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
I don't think anyone understood it because it wasn't like Arizona was a great team. Like they just went. Yeah, I know. I got to that point where I knew it, and I'd start chalking it up as a win for Arizona, and everyone's like, "You're crazy," and I'd win. How did you? I said, I don't know.
My Niners winning 13 games where we go into Seattle and they dump trucking us. Meanwhile, Arizona wins 5 games and they beat Seattle by 2 touchdowns.
I know this probably brings back bad memories, but wasn't Seattle 7-9 and got to host a playoff game because they won the division and beat New Orleans in Seattle? Like, there was just something about that, and it's gone. Unfortunately, I hope it comes back because last year, no crowd. So I missed that. That was something that I love to watch and see.
12th man is back. Yes,
the 12th man. Yeah, as long as the 12th man is back, I think they're there. Mm-hmm. So I've got Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and the Rams as the only three legitimate Super Bowl, because we didn't talk about Green Bay, but let's be honest, if you've got Aaron Rodgers with something to prove, one of the most skilled quarterbacks maybe in the history of football, you have a chance to go far. And he goes to the NFC Championship game a lot. He doesn't seem to be able to win them, but he does get there a lot, which always gives them a chance. Hey, if you're playing in the NFC Championship game, that means you have a shot at the Super Bowl. So I think they have a legit shot.
I do too. I agree.
And I think, I don't know how his teammates will react. I think as long as they don't see him as this, prima donna wanted to bring in, Randall Cobb, and then the two of them were like, hey, let's bring back Clay Matthews. Like,
who was washed, by the way. Clay was washed.
No, it's just, this isn't your last dance. Like, we're not doing a documentary for you. Like, go out and win some games. But they still have a shot. So I've said it already, Tampa Bay. I think, are you?
Well, Tone, it doesn't change. Tampa Bay, like I said, what they did was they ran it back. That's what Tampa Bay is doing. They ran it back. And Tom Brady, with the rules and how the quarterback isn't bothered as nearly as much as he used to be, Tom can probably play another year or two at that level. So I'm looking at this Tampa Bay team. They ran it back. They're bringing back their whole group. I think they're the class of the NFC. And I think my 49ers, like I said, will be in the mix, but I think that Tampa will be – I think they're the class of the NFC.
So I've got a Tampa Bay Buffalo Super Bowl. You've got a Tampa Bay Kansas City Super Bowl, a rematch.
I think we run this back.
Do we see the same outcome of the Super Bowl?
I think we do. If Tampa and Kansas City are in the bowl game again, I think Tampa beats them again.
So I'm going to ask you, the question that's going to happen if that happens. If he goes to the Super Bowl twice and loses twice, can Patrick Mahomes, I know this is crazy 10 years from now talk, but can Patrick Mahomes ever be considered the GOAT?
Nope. Not because, and strictly, I don't care what he does, strictly because of that right there. To lose to the same guy who is considered the GOAT twice when you're in the GOAT conversation. The problem that I have with this, Tone, is it's unfair because it's a double-edged sword. So, Tom Brady loses twice to Eli Manning. Is Eli Manning in the GOAT conversation? No. Is Eli Manning better than Tom Brady? No. But should Tom Brady be in the GOAT conversation? Yeah, absolutely. Now, if Patrick Mahomes in 10 years is in the GOAT conversation, you went up against another GOAT twice, and you lost to him twice. So
yeah, like with Eli, I think, had Eli had 6 Super Bowls, a couple of, some regular season MVPs, like if you had that's why I always say with these GOAT things, you have to have everything, right?
Absolutely.
You can't just say, well, Robert Ory's the GOAT because he has 7, he's 7-0 in the finals. Well, no, he's a 3-point per game role player. Yeah, he's Big Shot Bob, but you have to do the other stuff first, right? You have to have the stats and the accolades, the chips, because it's a team thing. Right. Are really just hey, I'm splitting hairs, so this is kind of going to be that thing that pushes me one way or the other, right? If Peyton Manning had Brady's Super Bowl resume, well, you're saying Peyton Manning is the guy, but right now it's Brady. He's got enough records, he's got enough stats, he's got enough accolades, and he's 7-9? No, 7 out of 10. He's 7 wins, 3 losses in the Super Bowl, and let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes didn't lose to Brady. Right, he lost to the Bucs defense.
Correct.
We all understand that, but I'll paint this scenario: if Jordan's last 2 seasons in the NBA, the Bulls played the Cavs and beat the Cavs in the finals with LeBron, and then LeBron goes on and wins 6 more titles, everyone's just going to go back and be like, yeah, but when they played head to head, they lost. So even if Patrick Mahomes wins 6 Super Bowls, 7 Super Bowls, 8 Super Bowls, because that's what he have to do, right? Because Brady will have 8 if he wins this season. Well, yeah, he has 8. He has 10. Mahomes has 10 Super Bowls. Yeah, but the 2 that he lost were to Brady. So you still lose that thing. So I'm with you, unfortunately. But and look, it's not even – people are going to say, why even have this conversation? Because people are going to ask.
They are. And it's going to come up too, Tone. This is something that's going to come up too. This is not something that it sounds ridiculous now. So in 5 years or in 7 years when Patrick Mahomes been to the Super Bowl 2 more times and maybe won it, and now the chatter is getting louder about him being the GOAT. So
Yeah, there's going to be a recency
bias now.
Yeah, in 10 years, there's going to be a recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
And people will say, oh, Patrick Mahomes is the best I've ever seen. Hopefully, right? And people just go back, oh, but yeah, do you remember?
Are you sure?
Yeah, because the conversation already happened last year before the Super Bowl, right? Where people were saying, if Mahomes can win, does that set him up for the future to be that guy? And everyone's, yeah, well, what if he loses? Well, then he lost the head-to-head matchup. So no. So they were already having it last year. You do it 2 times in a row. Now, the interesting part would be if it's a rematch and Kansas City wins, and now they're 1-1. Well, then obviously it'll
depend. That's a different conversation that we have.
Yeah, different conversation, right?
Completely different. If he loses, we're not having this conversation.
No.
If he loses in 10 years, we're not having this conversation. No.
And I want to record this with you on, because I'm going to post it on our TikTok and I'm going to tag you in it because we're talking about the GOAT. So, and because I have this video out there that I'm getting a lot of heat for, please, I know it's a 3-minute video, but please, I'm going to look into the camera. Please watch it to the end. Someone asked me, if you were to make an argument against Tom Brady being the GOAT, what would that sound like? And that video, that's where I do it, that's what it would sound like. It would sound silly and ridiculous. Okay? Tom Brady is the GOAT, period. End of discussion. Don't at me, or heck, at me if you want, but that video, you need to watch it to the end, because at the end it says, this person asked me for it, Tom Brady's the GOAT. So I just want to put that out there. You'd be surprised. I had someone just like, unfollowed, you know nothing about sports. And I'm like, okay, but you didn't watch it to the end. So I figured I'd throw that out there. Final words on either the Super Bowl, the NFL in general, other than we're excited to watch it right before we end.
I'm looking for football. So I'm looking forward to football season, Tom. I'm looking forward to football season. I would like for these teams to start naming starters. I think this weekend is the last weekend of the preseason, so we got to start getting some finality on who's our guy. And
is there any question marks left?
The 49ers we still haven't named a starter.
It's got to be Jimmy G.
Yeah, it's Jimmy G, but they still haven't named the guy. They still haven't named the guy. So, but we still got to wait for what they're doing in New England. We still have to wait for that as well. So, we already know what they're doing in Chicago. But I'm looking forward to football season, man. I am.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to football season.
Me too. As you know, I'm excited. And what we're gonna do, kind of every Friday now. So we've given you kind of the overview. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the kind of weekly matchups, whatever new stories are out there. You can find Fluent and Chill NFL edition, the same place where you can find the NBA edition, which comes out on Wednesdays. You can find it on YouTube at Sports Fluent. You can find it on YouTube at Chilltown Hoops. And you can find it at sportsfluent.com. Till next week.
Take it light, but take it.